Before we begin, tell me in the comments, where are you listening from? Maybe you're sitting at home. Maybe you're in your car. Maybe you're lying down. Headphones on. Eyes closed. Just listening. Wherever you are, I want you to slow down. Because what I'm about to share is not ordinary. People often believe that successful people always have everything under control. They imagine wealth. They imagine power. They imagine someone who never fears, never doubts, never struggles. But the truth is very different. Success does not protect you from sleepless nights. It does not protect you from fear of the unknown. It cannot shield you from questions that keep echoing in your mind long after midnight. I have lived those nights. I've stared at screens, at numbers that don't make sense, at patterns that whisper that something is about to change. Not just for me, but for all of us. And tonight, I want to share with you the hardest decision I have ever faced. Should I stay silent? Should I protect people from knowledge that could bring fear? Or should I speak? Should I share the truth, even if it makes you uneasy? Even if it forces you to see the future differently? This is not about products, not about business launches, not about the usual headlines. This is personal. This is urgent. This is about all of us. Because the signals I've been watching, the patterns I cannot ignore, all point to one moment. September 2025. It will not be just another month. It will be a turning point in human history. And most people are not prepared for it. That's why I must speak. Even though the words are heavy. Even though silence would be easier. Even though part of me wishes that I never had to carry this burden at all.
The sleepless nights. They began 6 months ago. At first, the signs looked small. Isolated problems. Nothing serious. But when I placed them side by side, they formed a picture so troubling that I thought maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was connecting dots that were never meant to be connected. Government contracts suddenly moved forward. Projects shifted from October to August. Why the rush? Why the urgency? Investors quietly pulling money out of certain sectors at the same time, pushing huge amounts into others. Not random moves. Moves made by people who know something. And then, supply chains. Partners in Asia, in Europe. Adjusting delivery schedules. Not minor changes. Changes that suggested they were preparing for September, but no one was saying why. These weren't accidents. These weren't coincidences. Together, they told a story. A story I did not want to believe. It wasn't just about business. It wasn't only about the economy. The real fear was what it meant for people, for families, for the future we all depend on. I tried to dismiss it. For 3 months, I told myself I was overthinking, that I was imagining patterns, that things would resolve on their own, that life would continue as normal. But then last week, everything changed. I received information that erased every doubt. It forced me to see that my fears were not illusions, that what I had been tracking was real, and it left me with a choice: stay silent or speak the truth. The weight of it became unbearable. It followed me everywhere, into meetings, into conversations with friends, into moments with my children. Carrying this alone has been overwhelming, heavier than anything I have faced before. I began to look at my children, and a thought kept returning to me. How do I prepare them for a world that might not remain the same? I watch them laugh. I watch them play, so innocent, so unaware of the storms I saw approaching. I spoke to advisors, I spoke to close friends, but never directly, always with hints, small clues, because I feared that if I said too much, I would create panic, and panic can be worse than the truth itself. Yet inside, I knew, even with all the influence I have, even with all the resources around me, some challenges are bigger than one person, bigger than one company, bigger than one nation. And that is why I realized the best I can do is to share information, to give people a chance, to protect themselves, to protect their families. Because what I've discovered does not come from a single source. It comes from many: government data, financial institutions, supply chain networks, behavioral patterns of world leaders. Each one on its own looks like a small ripple, but together they form a giant wave, and that wave is moving toward September 2025. The changes it will bring will test everything we believe: our economy, our societies, even our resilience as individuals. Governments that normally plan years ahead have been moving with sudden urgency, agencies shifting budgets, contracts accelerated as if they know something that demands action now. International suppliers adjusting their operations, not minor adjustments, but moves that point to disruption. Global transportation, communication networks, the foundations of daily life, being prepared for interruption, and then the leaders, presidents, prime ministers, figures of power, their schedules quietly changing, security tightened, public appearances reduced, private travel increased, even their families are being quietly repositioned, as if they know that normal governance, normal diplomacy will not be possible for a time. Think about that. These people have access to intelligence far beyond us. They see what's coming before it becomes public, and their behavior tells the story: a story of preparation, a story of caution, a story of fear. And I ask myself, if those who lead nations are preparing quietly, how can ordinary families remain unaware? How can people keep making plans as if September will be just another month? The weight of this realization has been heavy. It does not leave me. It follows me to bed. It greets me in the morning. It lingers in every conversation. And I know that silence is no longer an option. When I look at history, I see moments when everything changed, not gradually, not slowly, but suddenly, like a storm arriving overnight. Nations that were powerful collapsed within weeks. Systems that looked permanent disappeared almost instantly. Families who thought they were secure found themselves struggling, wondering how life turned upside down so quickly. And now, I see patterns repeating: different players, different technologies, but the same rhythm, the same signs, the same warnings. I have spoken with economists. I have read reports that were not meant for the public. I have watched leaders hesitate, delay decisions, then suddenly act with urgency. There is a tension in the air, a quiet understanding that something big is coming. Some believe it will be financial, a collapse of markets, triggered by hidden debts and unsustainable systems. Others whisper of conflict, not the wars we have seen before, but new forms, cyber strikes, resource blockades, energy disruptions, and still others say it will be something unexpected, something none of us can predict, something that breaks the chain of normal life and forces everyone to adapt instantly. I do not claim to know exactly which version is true, but I know this much. The evidence points to September 2025 as the moment when the shift will begin. And here is the truth. Those who are prepared will have a chance. They will face difficulties, yes, but they will endure because preparation is not about avoiding the storm. It is about surviving it. Those who are unprepared will feel it the hardest because they trusted normal life to continue, because they believed tomorrow would look like today. And that is why I am speaking now, not to create fear, not to spread panic, but to share what I see so that at least some people will take steps, small steps, practical steps, steps that could mean the difference between despair and survival. It is never easy to speak truths that others want to ignore, but silence helps no one. And when history looks back, I want to know I tried. I want to know that I did not keep quiet while families walked blindfolded into the storm of September. And so we arrive at the final question, not about governments, not about economies, not even about the systems we depend on. The real question is about you. What will you do when the comfort of normal life begins to break? When the routines you trusted are no longer there to hold you? When the lights go out, or the markets freeze, or the news is filled with voices that cannot agree on the truth? Will you panic? Will you wait for someone else to solve it for you? Or will you step forward and take responsibility for yourself and for the people you love? Because that is what this moment demands. Not perfection, not endless resources, not fear, but clarity, awareness, and small, steady action. I am not telling you to escape into the wilderness. I am not telling you to live in fear. I am saying, begin with what you can. Food, water, savings you can trust, skills that make you useful when systems fail, and perhaps most importantly, people, the ones you can rely on, the ones who will not abandon you when pressure rises, because survival is not just about supplies, it is about connection, it is about trust. You may think, this will not happen here, or this will not happen to me, but history always shows us something different. The ones who survive are rarely the strongest, rarely the richest, rarely the most powerful. They are the ones who prepared, quietly, patiently, without noise, without pride. So I leave you with this thought. The storm of September is not yet here, but the winds are already rising. You can feel them if you pay attention. Do not waste the time you still have. Do not assume tomorrow will wait for you. Begin now, even in small ways, because small steps taken today could save you from the hardest steps tomorrow. And when the world looks back on this moment, they will say, some were caught unaware, but others listened, others prepared, others endured. Which one will you be?